Kristen with Hooks, Books, and Wanderlust, and today I am going to share with you a tutorial on how to crochet the star stitch in the round. If you are unfamiliar with the star stitch, I highly suggest that you start with my tutorial where you work it in flat turned rows first, and I'll link that in the description box below for you. But today I'm going to show you, building off that tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet the star stitch traditionally and also my own personal method for working it in the round. So grab some yarn and a hook, and you're going to need a stitch multiple of 2, so an even number of stitches that you have worked in the round. It doesn't matter what kind of stitch you are working on top of, just need an even number. So let's get started. Okay, before we get started, I just want to show you really quickly kind of what the difference is between the traditional versus my personal method. So here on the bottom, this first series of star stitches, I have worked that traditionally, and then this is using my personal method of turning my rounds. So the difference here is the even number of stitches. If you've watched my previous tutorial working this stitch flat, you'll know that I start with an odd number, but in this instance I'm actually starting with an even number. So you will work that star stitch over 2 stitches, and the first row of star stitches doesn't alter or vary too much from the way you would work it flat, but the difference is in that second row, or that second part of the stitch pattern here, or second round, that you work either 2 single crochets or 2 half double crochets into the eye of each star stitch. So when you're working it flat, you've got the back of those stitches on the front side of your fabric. And when you're working it in the round, traditionally, you have the front of those stitches, and it gives a little bit of a different look. So if you look closely here at the first set of star stitches, you see the tiny little V's here from my single crochets, and they're just not very pronounced. I personally prefer a little bit more of a like starburst look to it, which I get when I work a turned round and I have the back side of my single crochets facing me. It just, I don't know, I prefer the look of it this way. So I'm going to show you both ways, and you can decide which one that you prefer to do for yourself. So let's start with the traditional method. Okay, to get started with our first star stitch, we are going to begin the round with a chain 3. And you're going to pull up several loops to make your first star stitch, starting with the second chain from your hook, pull up a loop. From the third chain from your hook, pull up a loop. And then at the stitch at the base of your chain 3, pull up a loop from that as well. So you should have 4 loops on your hook. You haven't really gone anywhere yet. It's all kind of vertical at this point. So now we're going to do what we call advance 2 by pulling up loops from each of the next 2 stitches. So you should have a total of 6 loops on your hook now. Go ahead and yarn over and pull through all 6 of those loops, and then chain 1 to close it. That chain 1 creates a small space here that we call the eye, and each of those loops that we pull up forms what we call a leg. So what we're going to do to work our second and subsequent star stitches is we're going to link to the previous star stitch in 3 different locations: the eye, the middle of the last leg, the stitch at the base of the last leg. So we'll pull up loops from each of those 3 places, and then we'll advance 2. So let's go ahead and work that second star stitch, pull up a loop from the eye, and then there's no great way to do this, just kind of stick your hook underneath those underneath the loops there on that last loop that you pulled up from the previous star stitch, the leg there, and then you're going to pull up a loop from the stitch at the base of that leg. So again, we haven't gone anywhere yet. This is all just linking to the previous star stitch. So now we're going to pull up loops from each of the next 2 stitches to advance 2. You'll be left with the magic number of 6 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 6 loops, chain 1 to close. So all of your next star stitches, all the way up until you have 1 stitch left from the previous round, are all going to look the exact same. You're going to link to the previous stitch from the eye, the last leg, if I can get my hook in there here, the stitch at the base of the last leg, then you're going to advance 2. 1, 2, 6 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 6, chain 1 to close. Just keep doing that all the way around until you have 1 stitch left from the previous round. And then I'm going to show you how to crochet the final star stitch of your round before joining. Okay? I'll be right back. Okay, I have come up to having 1 last stitch here remaining from my previous round, and I am going to start my last star stitch of this round the same way as I have, by linking to the previous star stitch from the eye, the last, I cannot get my hook in there. Okay, from the eye, the last leg, the stitch at the base of the last leg. So I'll have 4 loops on my hook at that point. Now, typically we advance 2. We're still going to do that, and we only have 1 stitch left. And the reason for that is because we want this to try and look as seamless as possible. So we're going to go ahead and pull up a loop from that last stitch from the previous round. Then we're going to pull up a loop from the first stitch of the previous round. That's the one we've already worked into at the base of our chain 3 from the beginning of this round. Now we have all 6 loops left on our hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 6. So the traditional method of joining here is to chain 1 to close your star stitch, and then find the top of your star stitch of the first star stitch of the round, not the eye, but the actual top of the star stitch here. So you can see it here. So here's the eye and here's the top of the stitch. And you're going to slip stitch right there. Okay. So now in my previous tutorial with the star stitch worked flat, I do go over the differences between using a single crochet versus a half double crochet for the second round or row. Personally, I prefer a single crochet, so that's what I'm going to show you in this tutorial. But if you do want to see what that looks like more in depth, definitely refer back to that previous tutorial, which is again linked in the description box below for you. So I am going to use a single crochet for my second round. And because these stitches are actually worked in the eye and we are not in the eye at the moment, I'm going to slip stitch to the eye to get my hook placed over there. And now from here, I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to single crochet 2 into each eye of each star stitch. So 1 and 2. We call that a single crochet increase. So I'm just going to skip the top of the next stitch and go directly into the eye again with 2 single crochets worked into that eye. So just keep finding the eyes and working your 2 single crochets, or if you prefer the half double crochet, you can do that as well. But just keep doing that all the way around. And then I will meet you at the end here, just a slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round to join it. And I'll show that to you here in just a second. Okay, so I am coming up on the final eye of my round here, and it's a little bit tight from my previous round. So I'm going to work my last 2 single crochets into that eye. And again, we're just going to slip stitch to the top of our first single crochet of that round to join it. So that is the traditional method for working the star stitch in the round. I'm going to change it up a little bit. For the most part, the first round of the star stitch is actually very similar. The only thing I change on that is the join. And it looks a little weird, but I think that it hides the join really well when you're working in the round, which is nice. So let's go ahead and start that next. Okay, so to get started for my personal method of working this, we're going to do a chain 3 just like we did before. And we're going to again pull up loops from the second and third chains from our hook and from the stitch at the base of our chain 3 for a total of 4 loops on our hook. And again, this is all vertical. We haven't actually gone anywhere yet. So now we're going to advance 2, 1, 2. So 6 loops on your hook, pull through all of them and chain 1. So we're going to continue with our same methodology for the second and subsequent star stitches by working into the eye, the last leg, the stitch at the base of the last leg, and then advance 2. And yarn over, pull through all 6 loops and chain 1 to close. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way around. And I'm going to show you my little trick for the join. If you like it, you're free to use it. If not, then keep doing the traditional method. And I will see you back here in time for that last star stitch. Okay, I have finished my second to last star stitch of the round, so I'm ready to finish with my last here. And just like before, we're going to link it to that previous star stitch from the eye, the last leg, the stitch at the base of the last leg. And our advance 2 is going to be very similar as well. We've got 1 stitch left from the previous round. Go ahead and pull up a loop from that. And then from the very first stitch of the round at the base of your chain 3, pull up a loop from there as well. So it's the same process I showed you before. The only difference is you're not going to chain 1 to close yet. So here, my little method here I think shows it's a little bit different, so bear with me, okay? But you can go either into the chain 3 if you prefer, or into the top of the star stitch. But I want you to, well, first pull this loop here on your hook nice and taut, and then pull up a loop here and basically just single crochet. So just like that. And what that's going to do is it's going to create your eye and your join all in the same step. And then what we're going to do is, to get that similar starburst pattern here, we have to have the back sides of the single crochets facing out. So that means turning our work while we're working in the round. So from here, I am going to chain 1, turn my work just like if I was working flat. And the benefit with this is you don't have to slip stitch to the eye because you're already at the eye. So you're just going to go ahead and work your 2 single crochets into the eye of that stitch and then all the way around. So again, just 2 single crochets in each eye all the way around, and then join with a slip stitch at the end of the round to close. So I will meet you right back here at the end of this round. So I'm coming up on the last eye of my last star stitch, and I'm just going to go ahead and work my 2 final single crochets of this round. And I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet of the round to close or join. So that concludes my method for doing this. The only thing I will make sure to note is that if and when you decide to go on to the next round, you need to make sure that you do your turning chain and actually turn your work. Don't continue working on the wrong side. We only work that single crochet round on the wrong side of our work. So that's the only round you need to turn before and after. Otherwise, that is it for my method. And as you can see, kind of looking at it here, this is the traditional method here, and then we have my method here and here. And they're just not quite as bulky. I think that it kind of hides the seam a little bit better. I just feel like this one keeps jogging a little. And I don't care for that. And then I also think that like the starburst looks better on my method with the turned rounds versus the other one. But that's a personal preference. So you might feel differently. You don't have to turn if you don't want to. I just wanted to show you guys so that you can make your own decision. But yeah, I think that it hides the join a little bit better. It's not as bulky. Like you can see some bulk here where you don't see it here. And yeah, So that's it for the star stitch, and showing you the traditional method and my own personal method. I will be putting a photo tutorial for this up on the blog, which I'll link down below in the description box for you as well. And if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments below, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. Until next time, I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye!